Hello, we're back. Thank you for joining us once again at the Household of Faith for our daily devotional for Saturday, July the 14th. And we're going to be talking about the ability to speak in unknown languages according to 1 Corinthians 12. And it's the last part of verse 10. And it says, still another person is given the ability to speak in unknown languages and there we go. That's not the last, so there is one more in that. So verse 10 has a lot. It talks about performing miracles, the ability to prophesy, discernment of spirits, and now to speak in an unknown language. Now, speaking in an unknown language, a lot of this is something that happened on the day of Pentecost. Let me just cut right to the chase, all right? This is something that happened on the day of Pentecost. When the 120 came out of the upper room, they were speaking in languages that they had not learned, that they had never learned. They may have heard them, but, these people were from Galilee. Most of the people there were from Galilee. I can't swear that there weren't some people who lived in Jerusalem that were in the upper room, but the leaders were all people who grew up in the area where Jesus grew up in. And ignorant fishermen, workmen, tax collectors. Tax collector was intelligent to a certain degree. So you had all kinds of people that were in that 120, but they did not speak the languages of the Jewish people who came from all of the cities that Paul visited later on in Macedonia and Ephesus and Crete and all of those places that he went to, Smyrna, Thyatira, all of those places, Laodicea. They were all Greek-speaking Jews. They heard them, and from one place to another, they spoke different languages, and they were hearing them speak in their own languages. And this is what they said, well, what is this? They sounded like they were drunk, but they could hear them praising God. So the Spirit can give you the ability to speak to people in a language that you have not learned, and it is completely and totally at his discretion. This particular gift I don't see manifested very often. I'm not saying that it doesn't, but let's just say, for instance, if you are sent to some tribal village, who's never seen, a person other than the people who live in their village, they're going to be speaking a language that you don't understand. And they're absolutely not going to understand anything that you're saying. And to be able to communicate with them, the Holy Spirit can allow you to speak in their language. And that is it. It's not specific to the heavenly language. And I don't mean your prayer language. I mean the unknown prayer, the language that some prophecies are given in, or messages are given in, not those unknown, because that's not an earthly language. We're talking about natural languages that other human beings speak. Let's say, for instance, if I am speaking now, but by the Spirit, he could have translate my voice into Japanese. He could translate my voice into some, obscure Eskimo dialect or German. I don't speak German. I know very few words of German, Italian, anything, Farsi, any of those different languages. The Holy Spirit has the ability to allow you to speak in those languages. You open your mouth and the words that come out are not in your native language, and it's not something that you learned. Okay, that is basically what we're talking about here. Now, we know that I've heard some teaching about Paul and said that Paul spoke multiple languages and this and this and that. Well, I don't remember reading Paul saying he did that. And I'm not saying that he didn't. I'm just saying I don't remember Paul saying that he spoke all of those different languages. I think that he probably had some knowledge of the different languages because of his position within the Pharisee community. But as far as knowing that for sure, no. And there are people in this world that I've heard them talking and things like that, and people who speak multiple languages, and they learned them very quickly, but they learned the language. I don't know anyone who, and I don't think I've ever met anyone who said that they have this gift. But that doesn't mean that it's not operating, because God knows I don't know everybody. God knows that. So I know that it is possible, and I do believe that if you, under the right conditions, just say, for instance, if you're ministering, because this area of Texas that I live in, there are a lot of Spanish-speaking people from Mexico. There are a lot of Asian people. There are a lot of African people who speak, most of them speak French, and some of them speak their native language, and others. I believe that if the opportunity arose and a need was for me to be able to speak to them in their language, I am positive that the Holy Spirit would allow me to be able to do that. I have that great confidence, and I look forward to operating in all 9 gifts of the Spirit whenever it is necessary. Okay, so don't just count it out, because, and you may know someone who has the ability to do that. All right, so all of these gifts are still valuable, especially today, and because just for, like I mentioned, all the different people from all over the world who live right here in this area, and I encounter all the time, and I would love the opportunity to present the gospel to someone who doesn't speak English, who just speaks their own language. I would love the opportunity to be able to share Jesus with them in their own language through the power of the Holy Spirit. All right, so we'll see you tomorrow, and tomorrow we're going to be talking about, I said it was Saturday, didn't I? I'm sorry, it's Sunday. Because tomorrow we're going to be talking about the ability to interpret, and that is still from verse 10, and it's while another is given the ability to interpret what is being said. And now I have seen that particular gift in operation, and that gift does speak specifically to heavenly languages. All right, and the unknown language, like I said, what we're talking about today is not just the heavenly language. It is more to, and I believe, and this is what I believe, it is more to what the language that people actually know, a language that is spoken on this planet, that someone knows that language, but they have not learned it. Okay, the person speaking it has not learned it, probably never even heard the language before. I'll see you tomorrow.